Mark.
I'm heading for Boyle, Connor's Common.
Do you do that commute every morning?
I do, yeah, I'm tarmacking down there.
Oh, good stuff. So have you much tarring to do today? He said that he's furious.
The welfare benefits were cut for those under 26 in the budget.
All you have to do is listen.
And Arthur Griffith was
For your journey, as long delays are expected.
for you, and if you're pulled out tomorrow, you can pick a ticket. Which?
It has come to our attention that radio broadcasts on the planet have degraded to such an extent that there is nothing on the airwaves but absolute rubbish. We apologize for the delay in our response, as the airwaves carrying this bullshit have only reached our star system today. We've dispatched two of our brightest agents in the field to rectify this problem.
Hello, 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 dear friends out there. I'm your host, Howard, on the anti-broadcast tonight on the 4th of the 4th, 2025. I'm a little low energy, so I cracked open my Red Bull to see if I can get any of that energy going. It's going to be a little hard because, for personal reasons, Morgan couldn't make it. So, you know, I'm missing my other half here. So I'll be a little low energy, and you know what? It's going to have to be off the dome tonight. I don't know how long it's going to go on for, how much content I can squeeze out of my brain. All I can think of on the fly is geopolitical news. Yay, that's fun. The world where nothing ever really happens, and yet sometimes everything happens all at once at the same time. We can talk about the tariffs coming in just came in from President Trump from the US, but I don't know what I'm going to fucking say about it because I'm not an economist. Yeah, let's talk about that first before we get into the Russo-centric news. Let's be honest about it. That's my gig. That's my jam. Tariffs. I think that nobody actually knows what the fuck they're talking about, yet they talk about it anyway. The only certainty about tariffs, at least from an Irish perspective, is that it's, we're fucked. We rely quite heavily on foreign investment, American jobs in particular, the IT sector, the pharmaceutical sector. They came here for the good tax rates. It's not a case of, we're a third world country and they just left America for cheaper wages. It was cheaper tax. But now that is encumbered by Trump's 20% tariff on the whole of the EU, which is a bit of an odd tact to take, in my opinion. So outside of that, if anyone talks about tariffs and what they're going to do to the American economy, to the global economy, if they're talking out of their ass. Maybe there are economists out there who do know what they're talking about and have can prove with graphs and concepts in a very eloquent way why things are going to unfold for the United States and the world at large after this decision was made. But other than that, people in the media, politicians, wannabe politicians on either side of the argument of, oh, this is a great thing or this is a terrible thing, are just full of noise. It's their job, really, to push a certain narrative, push a certain perspective, because that's what their audience wants to hear. Even if you get an economist who is often put out over the media. I'm struggling to think of some Irish economist names who are great in their field, but I seriously doubt that they understand what's happening right now. They're still towing someone's line. They're still bolstering somebody's agenda, even if it's just their personal agenda. A personal animosity towards Trump himself or the United States or globalism or going back to pre-globalist economics. One argument is that this is an anti-globalist approach and really an attack on globalism itself. Because the concept behind tariffs is protectionism, to either protect your economy from products that you already sell within your country or to other countries, and to protect the industry at home as well. It's kind of the same thing, but it comes in two different effects. That has been undergoing a process in the past, say, 35 years, pretty much. Yeah, since the fall of the Soviet Union, really. In favor of globalism, free trade, as they call it. And it's been kind of sold to the people, I think, as a good thing because it has the word free in it. It must be good. That's one argument. Alexander Mercouris of the Duran said that globalism is not just a economic thing; it's an ideological thing. It's going back to the philosophy that arose after the fall of the Berlin Wall and subsequent fall of the Soviet Union. That history came to an end. It's over now. We have reached the pinnacle of civilization. We've figured out how government works, how the economy works, how society works, and how we're all going to get along. There's not going to be any new developments in any of those fields. We've perfected them all. Sorry. Now, of course, we've since learned that this is nonsense because we've gone through endless wars, depressions. We're pretty certain that most of our democracies are really corrupt. They're not working like they should on paper. And also the whole thing about mass migration. disturbing native populations, all sorts of upheavals. You also have the reemergence of Marxism in very deleterious forms. Trying to trans your children and all that stuff. So clearly it's not working. And Trump has become a kind of a figurehead of anti-globalism. I don't know why. I mean, he does some anti-globalist things, like for instance, these tariffs. What McCurris said is that all of this end of the history ideology of neoliberalism, where there's one way of living, there's one way of doing democracy, and all that jazz. It's all one cohesive thing, and you can't pick and choose. It's not a pick and mix. You have to take the whole thing as it is. And free trade, the antithesis of tariffs, is one of those aspects. So you pull that one out, and the rest of it crumbles. Will it all crumble? I don't know, but we're talking about one of the most powerful economies in the world. When they sneeze, we feel it all over the world. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's a lot of scaremongering going on about how there's early signs of the U.S. economy shitting itself. The RAM Corporation, or I forget what they're called, but they make the Ram Jeeps. Is it? I really forget, but a pretty popular American car. They laid off thousands of people, not just in the United States, but around the world. And then the stock market's going down, and oh my God, it's all coming to an end. Hey there in the chat. I just thought I'd check out the chat. 420 Audits Ireland says, I'm watching on X and listening on YouTube. It's like having a shit through your tackle. Very funny. I like it. Good to have you aboard. Morgan could not make it. Personal things have come up at the last minute, meaning I don't want to go through what we had prepared for this show without him. It just wouldn't feel right. And honestly, if I'm being honest, it wouldn't even be half as good. So we're just going to chill out and at least do something, at least have a conversation. And since it's just me, I will pay a little more attention to the chat, even though in recent weeks I've let you guys know that I don't care what you have to say, but now I need you. So I will pay attention to you. So that's my wrap on tariffs. Honestly, we don't know. And if someone tells you that they do know, they're lying. I'm pretty certain of it. Even economists today, I don't think they know. I don't think they know. Yeah, you have these early upheavals. The fucking people are selling the stocks and buying stocks and fucking making preemptive decisions based on what some guy wrote down in a book, which granted has impact, but not yet. 420 said, ditch Morgan. Oh, never. No, not a chance. Not a chance. No, seriously, that guy's more than half this fucking show. It's not happening. He's holding you back. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, I wish that were true. Yeah, if I could strike out on my own and make it, yeah, I'd give it a go. I'd at least broadcast on a second week and give it a shot, but I don't think so. It's not happening. Know your limits, kids. what's happening now is unprecedented, and that's why the market is reacting the way it is, because they don't know what's going on either. Those are the guys that are spending the money and expecting to make the money back, and more than they've made in the last quarter and in the last year. So, instead of asking an economist what's going to happen, it's we should actually be looking at the guys who are expecting to make money and seeing what they're doing. It's kind of like, if you want to know who's going to win an election, don't look at opinion polls, look at the bookies. Or, if you want to know if a place is safe to live or if something's likely to happen, then check out how much it costs to buy insurance in relation to that thing. Money speaks. However, I think even the capitalists are without a clue right now, because this is an evolution of economics. It hasn't happened before in this way. We've come through these ages of, tribalism evolves into bigger tribes and becomes feudalism and then becomes monarchy, and you have this kind of liberalization of monarchy, and at the same time corporations start popping up like the Dutch East India Company, which the lads at the last podcast on the left say actually nailed out a lot of the concepts and culture of what corporations are today. And the East India Company was fucking brutal, man. Disgusting enterprise, although very profitable, and made Holland a powerhouse of a kingdom. Then we get into industrialization, and then we come into this postmodern age of electronics. All of this, all these are discrete blocks of time that have their certain conventions, right? Now we're coming to an end of the end of history convention, which started in 1990 and I guess died on its arse in 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. I think that is a pivotal moment in recent history. I might explain why later. You can't model what's happening now off of what happened in the past. You can't look in the past and say, well, this happened back then, so the same thing's going to happen now. What the US is doing today is very close to what Great Britain did in the early 1900s. They realized that, after the world wars kicked off, they lost a lot of power around the world. A lot of their holdings abroad, their colonies, just kind of disintegrated from them, from their grasp. So it took a while for the British establishment to get used to the idea, but they eventually just pulled inwards. I don't have the sophisticated vocabulary to explain that process beyond that, but consolidation of what is at home and protecting the immediate sphere, which I think is what Trump was trying to do with the Panama Canal, bringing Mexico and Canada into line and annexing Greenland. Although I think a big motivator is the fact that they found oil in late January in Greenland, or maybe that's just a coincidence, not sure. But it is the United States MO. So the UK did that back in the 20th century, and it hurt them for a while. But it was a necessary hurt, you know? You can't make changes without expecting some kind of suffering. And this is what maybe the United States as a people and as an establishment needs to get their head around. There's still a great power, but this game of being the world police, going around kicking everyone's asses, imposing democracy and freedom around the world, no matter how badly executed that was and how much it failed, that day is over. And one of the theories of mind for Donald Trump, and really it's all you can do is give theories because you really don't know what's going on in that guy's head. I think he's multiple people, to be honest. He's multiple advisors from different lobby groups in the United States. One of them is, was it AIPAC, the Israeli group? One of the theories of mind is that Trump knows this about the United States. I think he knows this about the world in general. Up until now, the United States could just go around the world doing whatever the hell it likes. But now you have this emerging new theory, multipolarism, where it's not just pre-1990, you had the United States and Soviet Union. The Soviet Union dissolves and Russia goes back to just being Russia, and it's in the feckin' gutter culturally and socially. Culturally and economically. And then you had just the unipole of the United States. This is the third age of multipolarism. I think Trump knows that. Rubio, actually, a few weeks ago, a week after, excusez-moi, a week after Trump spoke to Vladimir Putin for the first time, he gave a interview on some news television channel, I forget which, in which he said that it's a multipolar world that we're in now. Now that is huge. I don't know if that's Trump talking through Rubio, who I think is what's his position again? It's pretty substantial. Secretary of State, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not going to fact check myself on that. I'm pretty certain it's. I have it right there. But that's big for the United States to say that in any capacity. And I think that's scaring the rhino conservatives in even the Republican Party. It's definitely scaring the left anyway. You know, should I just keep on talking? Because doesn't seem like I'm going anywhere, but I am. Pre-2000s, I remember the left being anti-globalism. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. But I did see they showed on the news, on RTE, all over the place, riots on mainland Europe against the EU. Insane, right? These days, if you insult the EU in any way, if you suggest that Ireland should leave, you know, you're going to get most of the grief from people on the left. What's that about? They've changed sides. I don't know where it happened. I think a flashpoint for that was 9/11. It was after that I joined the left. Started going to anti-war protests, protesting the use of Shannon Airport to refuel warplanes. It seems I joined the left too late, because at that point, Antonio Gramsci was required reading in the Socialist Workers' Party. Bad guy. A nerd, really, that was imprisoned for his really disgusting beliefs. And he wrote them in a manifesto in his book about how to ultimately destroy society and replace it with the culture of critique, as they call it. You know, not any kind of society with a structure or anything, because structure is fundamentally offensive to the process of ongoing revolution. Because the communists figured out decades ago that you can't actually get the proletariat, the workers, to revolt, because they don't want to revolt. They think capitalism is just fine. And their cope for that, which has some truth to it, is that the capitalists kind of improved our lifestyles, gave us amenities, comforts, medicine, things like this, that make life worth living. If you're a Russian peasant at the turn of the last century, and you're just kind of working the mines or working in one of the manufactories or working the farms, and for whatever reason we can get into later, there's a food shortage, there's a coal shortage, so you're fucking freezing, because that's how you keep warm in ice cold Russia. You're going to revolt, especially since life is so fucking short, because hygiene doesn't exist yet. Things like this. 420 says, us proles are the only hope. That's the thing. We're the only people who really make radical changes. The other type of change, slow change, that only happens from above. The actual mechanisms of the state work. They do. They just work very, very slowly. Sometimes when your state has been hijacked by a certain ideology, you can't change it anymore through that process. You have to take control of it by brute force. I'm not saying that's what we need to do. I'm just saying that's what happens. That's what's been happening since the beginning of mankind, when the tribal leaders became corrupt. The people just rose up and killed them. If they didn't relinquish control, just chuck them off the edge of the cliff. Again, this is a history lesson, not any kind of advice for our current situation. All you need is love. I think if we love our leaders hard enough, they'll give us what we want. Oh, that's George Orwell, not me. Yeah, I don't have George Orwell, sorry. I've never read 1984 or anything else that he wrote, because up until a few years ago, I just didn't read. I read a few books, but I wasn't a voracious reader. Which is why I was kicked out of the Socialist Workers' Party. I got the general idea of what Marxism and revolution was about, but I was more interested in ending war and, if I'm being honest, just seeing society burn and suffer for its sins. I was an angsty fucking teenager. Right, so where are we going with this? Unipolar world is ending. Well, it's ended. 2022 is February 2022 is when it ended. That's my theory. Because it it burst open this big secret that everyone already knew. It was an open secret that the United States conducts. Oh, and of course the European Union, and but the leader of the pack is the United States. We are its vassals. It runs these covert wars. Funny enough, the New York Times last week came out with an article. Excuse me, I really need to hit the mute button. New York Times. Yeah, there we go. Let me pull that up. Is it The Secret War in Ukraine? We've updated our terms. Oh, man. Really? Oh, stop. I was able to view this a few days ago, and now I can't anymore. Fuck it. Does anyone pay for these fucking websites, really? Seriously? Like New York Times, I can understand. But fucking, what is it? The Journal in Ireland. Do people fucking pay for that? I don't. Try Animal Farm. It's only 100 pages. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I will. I'll pick up a copy of that. It's going to have to be a physical copy because I can't read on screen for too long. It's horrific. Okay, so we have this shit, right? Coming out. It's a kind of a half admission, and because we're low IQ and we don't have a great attention span anymore. It has to be put in a kind of a funny little story. 2 months after Vladimir Putin's invading armies marched into Ukraine, a convoy of unmarked cars slid up to a Kiev street corner and collected 2 middle-aged men in civilian clothes. Leaving the city, the convoy, manned by British commandos, out of uniform but heavily armed, traveled 400 miles west to the Polish border. The crossing was seamless on diplomatic passports. Farther on, isn't it further on? Farther is a figurative distance, isn't it? And further is the physical distance. Can you fucking believe this? Out of the New York fucking Times. I'm scandalized. The Sun or RTE, I can understand, but the New York Times, how far you have fallen. Further on, they came to the. Oh, right. Let's. Can I speak Polish anymore? Shishov. Yasionka airport where an idling C-130 cargo plane waited. The passengers were top Ukrainian generals. Their destination was Clay Kasern, the headquarters of U.S. Army Europe and Africa in Wiesbaden. Yeah. Their mission was to help forge what would become one of the most closely guarded secrets of the war in Ukraine. One of the men, Lieutenant General Mikhailo Zabrodskia, fuck, oh man, I give up, remembers being led up a flight of stairs to a walkway overlooking the cavernous main hall of the garrison's Tony Base Auditorium. Before the war, it had been a gym used for all hands meetings, army band performances, and Cub Scout Pinewood derbies. Oh, for fuck's sake. Get to the point, man. The point is, all this time, it was the United States, it was Britain, and European allies, NATO allies in there in Ukraine, orchestrating a war against Russia. Now, this is framed as a proxy war between the United States and Russia, but the keen lawyer mind of Alexander Makuris pointed out that no, this is not a proxy war. A proxy war is where two world powers fight in a third country or with two third countries against each other, away from each of their borders. What was happening was a war being conducted against Russia. It was just not told. It was an open secret, as I said. At least it was open to people like myself and other commentators. But the thing is, you had this, what I could only imagine is some kind of military intelligence op called NAFO. It's kind of along the lines of Anonymous, where, you know, these degenerates, and I say that forgivingly because back in 2006, I was a member of Anonymous. That was great fun. But I recognized that I was a degenerate. They come together and they go out and hassle people all over the internet. The same thing, but on Reddit. So you can imagine what kind of characters were involved in this. But, you know, it was cool to be pro-NATO. And those people would go around the internet calling you a vatnik, or, you know, a Putin shill, or Russia shill, or, you know, this shite, NATO wave. Like, I just need to show you this fucking crap, man. Absolute crap. They even had a genre of music, if you'd believe it. Like, it's just special on a whole new level. It was like a cult, you know. Still is, but not as big anymore. Like, just look at this. Good music, though, I'll give them that. All right, let's just get to the drop. Oh yeah, War Machines. Yay, it's so great. I mean, you know, you don't see fucking Russo wave. You know what? Maybe we should. Yeah. Maybe that's what we need. Russo wave. It was a cult and still is, but it conspicuously fucking disappeared when USAID wrapped up. Along with the biggest charity involved in importing foreigners into Ireland, along with Media Zona now, those guys who go through the media and social media in Russia to uh, collate statistics to kind of estimate how many Russian soldiers have died as a result of the war. So if it weren't for these guys, and if it weren't for the relentless anti-Russian propaganda just oozing out of all four walls 24/7, we would have seen the truth for what it is. Uh, Maybe there was a lot of real Russophobia going on, but I think that the real agenda was to take attention away from the fact that take attention away from the revelation that Russia has given the world, that the United States operates on this sneaky level of orchestrating wars around the world for its own geopolitical and financial benefit. And this is when the unipolar world truly ended. It just took 2 or so years for the results to finally get baked in, and on less than 3 years for the United States to finally get the message and vote in an admittedly problematic, but the only correct candidate to fix the course of their country. I love the United States in as much as I love any country, really. I think, with a few exceptions, they're all beautiful. They have unique histories, and more like I like cultural groups. If American culture were to be taken out of my brain, I'd only have maybe 40% of it left. That's just something I have to admit. And a lot of people around the world, especially in the Anglosphere, will acknowledge that about themselves too. So I don't want the United States to end. I don't want them to constantly overextend themselves and inevitably collapse, because the truth is they're not doing too good. The United Kingdom isn't doing too good either. People are sinking ever more in the UK below the poverty line. People are struggling just to pay bills. Ireland will be there too, but I think our boat will sink way faster now with these tariffs. Today is the day of focusing on ourselves, not looking out there into the vast distances and asking ourselves, how can we project our power over there? Now, I acknowledge that this isn't the most popular fucking edition of the anti-broadcast, but hey ho. If you're still here, you know what you're getting. So, this peace process, this well, it's a ceasefire process. The ultimate aim is a 30-day ceasefire. But there's certain steps that have to come before a full-on ceasefire. Again, I'm going to repeat Alexander Mercouris because he's right. In a lot of cases, he's right. Even with his checkered past, which is actually quite funny if you want a good laugh. Look up why he was disbarred. I love him, really, but that was funny as shit. Not for his victim or him, though. You can't just jump into a ceasefire right away and expect it to work. You know? Case in point, very recent case in point, Hamas and Israel. And we can argue back and forth about who was responsible, how did it collapse. I'm sure there was a lot of game theory on both sides involved in that, because there always fucking is. And to totally come down on one side or the other is, midwit, stupid. This is the nature of conflict. It has to slowly be unwound. Because even though it begins ostensibly with tanks rolling in across a nation's border, there are things that happen before then that build up to that point. Nobody wakes up one day and says, right, we're invading the country next to us. No idea why, I just feel like it. I'm sure there have been crazy kings back in the day. I'm sure some sultan of the Ottoman Empire was the leader of the Ottoman Empire a sultan? I forget. But I'm sure there was some crazy sultan who just woke up one day and said, yeah, those guys next to us? Yeah, let's just invade them. Or, maybe the O'Donnell clan, some chieftain got up on the wrong side of the bed and said, yeah, let's go to war today. How are you feeling about it, lads? Let's go. Meath won't know what hit them. Sorry, I need my fluids. This is usually when Morgan is talking, so I get to replenish my bodily fluids. My precious bodily fluids. Well, in some cases, there is one side that is less thrilled about peace process than the other. Now, of course, this will be hammed up as much as possible by the Russians because they have to make their political point. But the truth is that the Russians aren't fucking overjoyed about this process either, because they had demands going into this war. They had expectations of how it will end, and as this is pretty much a peace process between Russia and the United States, with the Ukraine as its proxy, the United States is making demands that don't align with those expectations. And the truth is that the ordinary Russians, they're getting a little pissed off. They're not exactly thrilled with the idea of their leader, Putin, going in to this head on and accepting all terms. So there's a factor of Russia drawing this out longer than it should necessarily. If all parties really wanted peace, it could be done in days, but both sides, they're not exactly happy about it. However, the most cynical actor here is Ukraine, with constant attacks on, since the agreement that really wasn't an agreement, that didn't have a particular start date necessarily. The agreement to not attack each other's electrical infrastructure, civilian electrical infrastructure, attacked Russia's energy infrastructure that day that was announced and continued to do so. As far as we know, Russia played ball. They have no reason not to. All they need to do is allow Ukraine to do what it does best and attack Russian civilians. Not only have they been doing that since 2014 to the Russian populations in Ukraine, and particularly to those in the Donbass. They've been doing it to Belgorod for 2 years now, 2.5 years. I'll have to check my notes. Whether it's that phony invasion of the Russian insurrectionists who were armed by Ukraine to invade Belgorod, or whether it's shelling of apartment blocks, or whether it's while invading Belgorod, shooting at passing cars, civilian cars, killing children. It's terrorism. And as Ukraine does not want peace, they want this resolved by blood, because, there's going to be magical F-16s and Abrams tanks and howitzers and all that stuff just delivered to them all in one day, and they're going to rush the front lines. I think maybe some of the top brass in Ukraine are necromancers. They're going to cast a spell over the graveyards to rise up a ghost army that will take command of all of this new weaponry of war. And they're going to march right into Moscow. And that's how the war is going to end from a Ukrainian perspective. It's not going to fucking happen. It's not. But look, the leadership is absolutely corrupt in that country, and there's no getting rid of them. Last week, I believe, Russia has suggested that the United Nations take administration of Ukraine long enough for them to have elections. That wasn't really well received outside of the global South, as they call it, or the global majority nations, because it means that there are elections in Ukraine and Ukrainians get to pick who leads them. If you've gathered, we in the West, we're not really fond of that old democratic process. Well, a democratic process took place today in the United Nations General Assembly. HRC. What arm is this again? Jeez, I misread this as the Security Council, but no, it's not the Security Council. It's the fuck's sake. All right, this is me doing the news wrap up of the day without actually reading the news. United Nations Human Rights Council. A resolution was proposed. Have you guys ever heard of the United Nations Human Rights Council? I'm sure maybe you've heard that it exists, but have you ever heard of them doing anything? Like, let's give a for instance. Okay, this might not show up on RTE. It might do, but I doubt it because the result isn't in their favor. Oh yeah, Russell Brand charged with violating a woman, which is sad. All to be expected. Okay, that's not showing up, but maybe it's in the back pages somewhere. Okay, all right. UNHRC calls for Israel to be held accountable. Okay, fair enough. I stand corrected. The media does talk about it. I just haven't come across it. Okay, that's that experiment done. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Fact checking myself as I go. Let's get back to this. The 10-page document uses assessments and narratives typical of the states on Russia's list of unfriendly states. Yeah, it's been a pattern now that you definitely know who you're dealing with at any given time, really, when it comes to a resolution in the General Assembly, the Security Council, or this council that I've never heard of before, to be honest. If it comes from a certain country, it has a certain reading. That's not healthy international relations. Animosity, tension between countries, that is to be expected. That's just the natural order of the universe, I think. Competition is good. However, this is just a complete polarization of agendas and desires. So you will always get a delusionally anti-Russian perspective from anti-Russian countries and a very contrasting perspective from everyone else. There's very few countries that kind of are in between. And you'll find that the countries that are in between, like Turkey, for instance, are not in between because they have nuance. But Turkey, in particular, since the time of the Ottoman Empire, has this approach to international relations of playing each side off of each other. That's why Turkey, a member of NATO, often has been playing ball with Russia. Both to Russia's benefit and Russia's detriment, because Erdogan, he's a real Ottoman sultan. He knows when to snake his friends and when not to. A total of 22 out of 47 countries participating in the 58th session of the UN Human Rights Council. Wow, 58th session. No wonder I didn't hear about them. The anti-broadcast has about 100 times more sessions than the UNHRC does. I mean, that's pathetic. We're talking about an institution that's older than most people alive today. And yeah, only 58 sessions. Absolutely bonkers. Did not support the anti-Russian resolution initiated by the countries of the collective West, providing for a 1-year extension of the mandate of the Commission investigating human rights violations in Ukraine. So the countries that you would find voting for this resolution. Costa Rica, Chile, Côte d'Ivoire, which is the Ivory Coast. I just learned how to pronounce that an hour ago. Sorry about that. The Dominican Republic, Georgia, Gambia, Ghana. Can you guys kind of see a pattern here? What do most of these countries have in common? They're really shit countries, if we're honest. This is the tide turning, folks. At the outside of this war, yeah, every resolution from the General Assembly got through, no problem. But when just over half of this Human Rights Council shoots down a resolution that's blatantly anti-Russian, then you know what it's about. You know what time it is. One of the concerns I have right now is the Armenian problem. It's more of the Azerbaijani problem. When was it? A year and a half ago now. God, time flies. Or is it even less? Is it just a year ago when Azerbaijan said, you know what, fuck it. We're just going to take Nagorno-Karabakh. Is that what it's called? Jesus Christ. Yes, it is. Thank God. Fuck me. Nagorno-Karabakh. It is a part of, or was a part of, Armenia. Until part of it wasn't anymore. And then gradually more and more parts of it weren't Armenian. And now, yep, basically overnight, 100,000 Armenians fled either to Armenia proper or into Europe, I'd imagine, Russia. Ethnic cleansing, in other words. Now, Armenia is a member of the CSTO, if memory serves. No, they're not. The Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is headed by Russia and includes multiple countries, most countries from the ex-Soviet era, except, the Western ones that are now in NATO. Basically an Eastern NATO, except they aren't fucking arrogant pricks. They had a relationship, anyway, with Russia, with also the backing of the CSTO to protect Armenia from Azerbaijan. Because we all knew what was coming. But the leadership had been subverted, I guess, by the West. But the excuse was that, no, it was actually Russia who were trying to interfere with Armenian elections. So what we have to do as the West... Sorry, I need more energy. Is interfere with their elections to make sure that the Russian interference doesn't work. And install a pro-EU puppet. And I can't pronounce Armenian names, so I won't fucking try that. No, I will for the crack. Vahan. Kachaturian. Manchurian. No, I can't. So this guy, pro EU. The country is frankly divided. There's a lot of pro-Russian sentiment in the country. It's just that it was kind of up to the Armenians to say, hey, can you come in and help us? Because we're being attacked by Azerbaijan, which it was. It's like a game of I think one of the Civilization games had a mechanic where if you were a bigger country, you could just say, open the diplomatic screen with the smaller country and say, give me that city or I'll declare war on you. And then they just hand it over. You can do that with provinces in Europa Universalis 4. I'm a big nerd, but to be fair, Europa Universalis is a great way of learning geography. And that's basically what happened to Armenia, except there wasn't really any conversation involved. Azerbaijan, as I said, yeah, we're taking this now. So it was a war. It just wasn't declared, and it wasn't responded to. And the Armenians decided to just let it happen because their only option was to turn to Russia. But they didn't want to do that because they want to be in the EU. And now, finally, we have Armenia passing a law for their, I always struggle with this word, ascending their accession process to the EU. I'm not going to pretend to know a whole lot about this this part of the world or what's going on with them right now. I just get the general idea. If anyone in the chat can help me out with that, I'd be delighted. However, we're seeing this as a general pattern across the countries that vaguely neighbor Russia. You had this same kind of process with Georgia. That was a fun time there over the last year's elections in Georgia, where the wrong people were voted in to the parliament. And this French-born but Armenian by blood, yet French by name, I believe, a woman who she worked in the civil service, the high civil service of France. I believe she worked in the consulate in Armenia for France all her life. And then, no, she just magically became the fucking president of Armenia. Georgia. So, wow, I'm mixing up my country name. Sorry about that. She decided that I'm not stepping down. I know that a presidential election is coming, but if I'm voted out, I'm staying in, even though she had already served 2 terms, which I believe is the maximum that a president can serve. So she wasn't even running. Yes, she wasn't in the running. Now it's coming back to me. Sorry, I didn't do any prep work. By the way, we're not doing a regular show right now. My co-host had something come up. It is what it is. So I'm going off the top of my dome here. It was hilarious. It really was. It lasted for all of 2 months. And I think it was 2 weeks after the election and her successor was elected by the people. that she made this lily-livered speech about democracy and freedom and all that, and she just stepped down and probably went back to France to get another cushy job. I think her parents were like really fucked up, you know, not good people. I forget. I forget the research I did into her. Actually, I should pull that up again. That whole period was just chaos in the capital, which is slipping my mind right now. The name of protests. Hundreds of thousands, I believe. And then they whittled down to tens of thousands. And then there was a raid on a opposition party headquarters. And it just so happened to have fireworks and spray paint and all of the things that are associated with the protests. The riots, really. The vandalism was involved. Those fireworks weren't for celebration; they were for firing at police. It was an attempted coup, essentially. The idea was there's a color revolution, right? You pay these protesters to show up. You just pump shitloads of funds into the protest movement. They drum up support, and then they go protesting, and they make camps, and they do all that kind of stuff. And they just taunt the police. They commit vandalism, and then they're waiting with their cameras to capture the riot police and the National Guard beating the shit out of them. But top marks for the Georgian authorities. Obviously, they got word from up high to not fall for this trap. And they didn't do anything. There was a bit of a scuffle between the police and the protesters over the course of those weeks. But that's about it. Had they took the bait, then of course, yeah, those photos and the footage would have went worldwide across the Western media. And aren't these pro-Russian Georgian dictators so terrible? It eventually turned out that the country's native elections watchdog said, look, those elections were fair and square. We don't see any corruption involved. So the narrative dissolved. And as a as an interesting footnote of that election, that parliamentary election, a lot of the anti-establishment votes, the non-cucked, non-woke votes came from rural areas. It was only really in the capital and the major cities that you got the pro-Western votes from. It is actually quite interesting. And you see that echoed around the world. And then you had Ukraine. It's an interesting dynamic between Russia and Ukraine. They wanted in the EU, just like Armenia, just like Georgia. They had a common area, free trade area with Russia. the EU said, hey, why don't you come into our free trade area? Well, you can't have two overlapping free trade areas because that effectively makes it one free trade area. So Russia said, hey, you have a choice. You can have free trade with us. You can drive back and forth with, gallons of fucking vodka either direction if you want. You can go over the border and buy your furniture and bring it home. Or you can do that with the EU, but you can't have us both because that means our market gets flooded with shit that we produce. It'll destroy our economy, essentially, because, then EU people can just load up their wagons with whatever they want to sell in Russia or vice versa. Just drive it across both borders. Yeah, it wasn't long after that tensions really broke out. So there's a pattern here, folks. A consistent pattern. Now, I wouldn't say I've run out of steam here. I've run to the end of the current thread. So what I'm going to do is call up some AI music and take a break. And it has to be AI music because we're kind of fucked. Last week, we got taken off of YouTube. It just nuked at 1 a.m. Actually, the last comment I saw in the chat was our friend Steve from Canada. He said, bummer. And I asked, bummer? Because I had no idea what happened. He was responding to the fact that out of nowhere, the screen just goes black and says that the stream is being terminated because of repeated copyright violations. What it was Morgan's brilliant editing tastes, completely fair use, definitely within the bounds of fair use. He included, and I know what it sounds like without any context, so please just know that it was Kino. It was good. It was funny. He edited in Cardi B music video, just clips, again, through the lens of fair use, and just totally fucked us. I mean, that fucked us. And I got our in-house lawyer, Sean, who is a copyright lawyer, to review the alleged violations, and he said no, that's within fair use. And what was fair dealings as well. So I disputed that with YouTube, and I repeated what he said, and it was rejected. So what I'm going to do is escalate the dispute, basically, is what I'm going to do. This is a hill that I'm going to die on, because you can't have these big fucking music labels fucking the little guy. I just won't have it. From my memory, what happens is you have. Sorry, I just need to look at my. How do I sort? How do I sort this list? Oh fuck! I like Udio for making music, but it's just shit to navigate. You used to be able to You used to be able to search your songs by published status, but now you can't anymore. Oh, fuck me. Right. So, from my memory, you go through the process of escalating the counterclaim, let's say. And then it's kind of up to the music label to take you to court. And if they don't want to do that, then I guess it's kind of, it stays up. I'm not sure, but I know for certain that we were in the right. And I'm willing to bend to the expectations of this platform to a certain extent. Okay, I get it. Okay, I get it. People have intellectual property and they have the right to protect it. That's fine. I'll go along with that. I don't agree with exactly how it's structured these days. I think it should be changed because we live in a different world now, but that's got nothing to do with it. All right? How I think things should be run is different to the way that they are run. I get that, right? But I can't fucking stand two-tier enforcement. Because someone has more stuff than me, that means that they get away with things. I was raised to believe that the world wasn't this way. You know, and it's stupid. It really is dumb. You know, you get taught fairy tales when you're growing up. You know, Santa, for instance. I hope no children were listening. To be fair, it is 10 to 11. So if there's any children in earshot, that's your fucking fault and failure as a parent. Santa, the earth being round, you know, things like this. I'm joking. I hope, you know. Yeah, life is fair. You know, you have rights. The government loves you. And, you know, when there's a government institution or something, it's there for your good, and charities are there to help people, and they do help people. You know, they even the people that work in the charities, they give, you know, beyond the managerial levels, on all the way up to the top. They look out for people, and they sacrifice every day to make sure that whatever their concern group is, their lives are elevated. This kind of shit, right? It's kind of sad that I believed in all that stuff for as long as I did. But at the same time, I have an insane level of anger, resentment, and disgust towards a system that taught me these things, and they aren't fucking true. And they should be true. The government should look out for you. Charities should be working for the people. Santa should be real, really. Come on. Like, come on. That's great. Wouldn't you love a big jolly old fella coming and giving you stuff every December because you were a good boy? I mean, yeah, okay, granted, some of them are just kind of utopian and kind of out there, but you know, within reason, things should kind of work the way that we were told that they work, and fair use is one of those things. If I worked on a radio program, you know, RTE or in the United States, fucking whatever, one of those big mega corporation radio stations, and I played Cardi B within fair use, Well, that would be the end of it. I played it, people heard it, nothing happens. Nobody's coming knocking on my door and saying, you're in trouble. And even if they did, I'd have my corporation behind me because nothing happened. There was no violation of any laws. But if I'm a guy, or if we're two guys on YouTube who use someone else's work to make a social commentary, we get fucked. But to be fair, it's not all music. We've used music before, and maybe sometimes we'd be blocked in a country or two. It's usually Russia and Belarus for some fucking weird reason. But we don't get a fucking strike on our channel. Okay, with all that said, we're gonna switch to this thing I made last week, which I didn't get an opportunity to play because it just didn't fit the mood. But I mean, it still doesn't fit the mood, but here you go. Here's a lounge cover of Clutch, the Clutch song Worm Drink. Enjoy. I'll be back shortly.
I march no longer, I fight no more. You can send out all the tracks never loved, but I'm done with war. Wind him up, bring him back, conscript deserter. The worm drink is loose. Wind him up, bring him back, conscript deserter. The proof is in the juice. O'Connell's Boulevard, Phoenix Park, TikTok liquor, Thunderbird. And now that we have totally lost all composure, we will wither from exposure beneath the sun. Dun 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 dun. Wind him up, bring him back, conscript deserter. The worm drink is loose. Wind him up, bring him back, conscript deserter. The proof is in the juice. If you see me at the bottom, please bring me my running shoes. And if you see me getting caught up, yet you know what to do. I'll march no longer. I'm done with war. Send out your snivellers, but I'll march no more. I'll march no longer. I'm done with war. Send out your snivellers, but I'll march no more.
Will you laugh with me, please, if I share my need?
Fucking autoplay. Whew. Yeah, that interface worked so well a few months ago and they enshittified it. It's sad. It usually takes a few years for enshittification to take hold, but geez, Udio really kind of went downhill. There's rumblings in Ireland of a civil war, and it's taking some pretty fucking absurd forms. We've always had this low-level conflict in on Twitter, let's say, between the main factions in Ireland, the far left and the far right. Whatever you'd like to call them. And that has spilled over into one Facebook group I mentioned last week. Loughlinstown Says No. Initially set up by leftists, people before profit types, against water charges. And, as happens when you win an issue or it goes away for a while, because it's not gone, it's coming back. Water charges. People stop paying attention and they change their concerns. And over time, this Loughlinstown group became about migrants, iPass centers and stuff. And out of nowhere, just a month ago, some far left lunatics took exception to this and started flooding it with counter signals. And that was responded to with further counter signals from the right. And it's just sad to watch. uh, it's just people taking shots at each other online. It doesn't really amount to anything in the real world. And now we have another absurd example uh, of a civil war going on here, involving the Molly Malone statue. Now, I don't know when this began, but it was clearly a long, long time ago. People decided to start touching the statue's breasts because, she's voluminous in that department, let's say. And this has become a thing now that we need to complain about and get upset about and argue over. They've now hired people to look after the statue to make sure that nobody's touching her breasts. It's insane. There's this video floating around of an American tourist being assaulted, basically. Let's watch it.
Fuck you and your fucking stupid country, you fucking fucks. And I don't give a fuck because your country is a fucking bastard country.
Oh God, she's an attractive woman. Why does she need to be like this?
That has fucked this whole world up, is fucking this country up, and go back to where you fucking came from, you scumbag.
You're fucking awesome.
He didn't touch her breasts. He gave her a nice slobbery kiss. Now, isn't that lovely? Really. It's a sign of affection. Like, why aren't we celebrating this, Look at that. Look at that lovely interaction. Now, see, the thing is that he's probably more Irish than she is. Where's that kind of skin tone come from, really? Where does that hair come from, really?
Fucking came from, you scumbag.
Why the fuck are you touching her tits? Bro, you're disgusting.
Dude, don't fucking come into my fucking country. Don't fucking come into my
What are you
fucking
doing?
country.
What are you doing? What's the issue? Tell me what's the issue. You came up to me and pressed me like, what about it though?
What do you mean, what about it? I just told you like 3 fucking times.
Right. So
You
it's
keep
like,
asking the
are
same
we
question.
moving forward from here or what?
You keep asking me
Are you
the
gonna
same
punch me in the
fucking
mouth
question.
now or what?
No.
Okay.
Nah.
Is that what you believe
Go,
is right?
so leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. How about that?
Hey, fucking American.
That's what
You're
she
from America.
From
Yeah,
America.
fucking listen.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you and your fucking stupid country, you fucking fucks. Chucky fucking air, nah. Yanks out of this fucking country, you scumbag.
Literally just sitting here. Sitting here doing nothing.
Okay, doing a little bit of research on the fly here, asking Rock, when did people start touching the Molly Malone statue's breasts? All right, let's see. The practice of touching the Molly Malone statue's breasts began sometime before 2014, though the exact origin is unclear. Well, I don't expect it to know that much about reality. It's often attributed to an imaginary tour guide, imaginative tour guide, who suggested that rubbing the Jesus Christ, this is fucking brilliant. Oh, this is so Irish. I think I know what it's about to say. An imaginative tour guide who suggested that rubbing the statue's bosom would bring good luck. Oh, you can't think of anything more Irish. Oh my God. That's a tradition we should be proud of. The statue, unveiled in 1988 on Grafton Street in Dublin and later moved to Suffolk Street in 2014, didn't immediately become a target for this behavior. The tradition likely gained traction in the early 2000s as tourism grew, with guides possibly amplifying the superstition. By 2014, the habit was notable enough to draw criticism. Back in 2014. And the wear on the bronze, resulting in a golden sheen, became evident, suggesting years of accumulated touching. There's no definitive record pinpointing the first instance, but it's tied to the statue's increased popularity and the spread of the luck-related myth. Okay, that's something I didn't know. And suddenly, it's a big thing. It's become this ground zero of I don't know what to call it other than a miniature civil war. Ha. Okay, now this is interesting. This is very interesting indeed. Let's take a look at this. A very astute person on Twitter has pointed this out. Touching statues is a normal human activity. Now, this is interesting. On Wall Street, there's a bull. If you know the lingo around Wall Street, then you know what this means. I think on the other side of the bull is a child or something. Something really fucked up like that. Like the bull's about to kill the child. And then, yeah, it has massive balls. For some reason, the bull, it has massive balls. Why that is, can't explain it. And people like to touch them because they're unusual. You also have the legs of the bull. I guess people like touching that as well. They obviously love touching the ass, but not as much as the balls. Now you can tell because the the bronze is wearing off. Much like the Molly Malone breasts. And now in Paris, you have, I don't know what this statue is, but it's awfully. Is this what's his name? Oscar Wilde? Oscar Wilde grave. No, it's not. No. Who is it then? And if we're going to get insulted about anything, how about we get insulted about that? That they're obviously touching his crotch. Wow. I mean, that's fine. In my book, that's okay. Where's my coffee? What my problem is that this is someone's fucking grave. So if we're going to be worried about, because of the sexual connotations, people touching the breasts of a fictitious woman. Why can't I get insulted by women, mainly, touching the massive balls of this fictitious bull? Or mainly women in Paris, touching the crotch, basically touching the junk just through the imaginary clothes of this person who is clearly being memorialized. Where does this make sense? Oh, in our reality, I guess. In our distorted timeline. Yeah. I'm quickly running out of content here, guys. We may not be going for much longer. So let's look at the article. The main article that discusses the stewards looking after the fucking statue, which is just ridiculous. I don't know where to find it though. Molly Malone statue. Let's see if that brings that up. Okay, there we go. Hold on a second. Full disclosure, I have not read this myself, so we will be learning together, as we've been learning most things together tonight. Again, for listeners that just joined us, this isn't a normal show. My co-host couldn't make it, so I'm not going to go through the content that we had agreed to together because it's just too good, and I will just make a balls of it. All right, Dublin's Molly Malone statue to get stewards to stop groping. BBC, Jesus Christ, I could have picked something more native. Stewards are to be stationed next to the statue of Molly Malone to discourage people from touching it. Jesus Christ, man. How much does that cost? You know, these aren't people that are already working for the council. They have to be hired, surely. And if they already are working for the council, they're probably out there keeping the peace in some other capacity. So they're being taken away from their job when our city is our capital city is going through a crisis. One second. All right. I might end the show because I'm on call and I got a call. So I'll make a little bit of money as opposed to talking shite on the internet. So you're about to be let loose, dear listener. We will not be inflicting suffering upon you for much longer. Dublin City Council is running a pilot scheme for a week in May after in May. Jesus. Yeah, it takes that long to do the recruitment process, I guess. Wow, what a waste of fucking money. After complaints of people groping the sculpture's breasts, where this came out of, just resurrected out of the fucking graveyard of grievance, buried in 2014, as I don't fucking understand. The council also said it has plans to repatinate which is to, yeah, I guess, make it not look like the breasts have ever been touched. Parts of the statue that have become discolored by people touching it. Another waste of money. Dublin City Council do not want anyone to touch any work of art, whether indoors or outdoors, to avoid damage and costly repairs. Go fuck yourself. It's not damage. They're not going to wear away the breasts. I mean, even if they do, at that point, it would be a cultural oddity, and people would, be more mystified by it. It's like drops of water slowly eating away at a pavement. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. Isn't that fascinating how water drip by drip just eats away at something? It's corrosion. It's cool. Leave it alone. The low plinth height and space around the statue allows crowds to congregate easily, and the Molly Malone statue is a feature of tours given by tour guides. Yeah, okay, well, to just put her underground then. Lock her up, because we have too many tourists. We need to get rid of some of them to make room for fucking iPass people. The council said other potential options to stop people touching the statue, such as moving it or raising the plinth that it sits on, are under review. However, it said that these options would be costly. Then don't fucking do it. Adding that placing a railing around the artwork may increase risk. A pilot week of stewarding will occur in May to begin educating those who are interacting with the statue and requesting they do not touch the statue or step on the plinth, and discussing the reasons for not doing so. Because they can't stop you from doing it. Because it's not against the law to touch a statue's breasts. Tilly Cripwell, a student who has campaigned for the statue to be treated with more respect, criticized the idea of stewards as short-sighted and quite short-term. Well, what the fuck do you want? Do you want fucking laser fucking alarms? Do you want like flamethrowers all around the perimeter that just shoot up mortal flames when a tourist approaches it? The fuck do you want done? CCTV cameras from every angle, and then jail whoever touches it under laws that don't fucking exist and shouldn't fucking exist. These people, they always ask for things and they don't actually, not these people, but just people in general. People say, oh, the government should do something about that. There should be a law against that, without actually thinking it through. Like, what does this actually mean? What would be required to make my fantasy into a reality? And is that actually something that we want? Something that should be done? Is that something that will potentially negatively affect us in some other way that is unforeseen, or that we're just so stupid we can't see it? But of course, nobody ever thinks, oh God, maybe there's something I don't know about the world. And that includes me. But in my defense, I don't go around saying, oh, somebody should do something about that. Somebody should do something about this. I'm not a busybody. And this is the problem with people. They are going around fucking, every fucking problem needs to be solved. Yet the divine wisdom of our ancestors is not being heeded. Some problems don't need to be solved. Some problems are a result of how we're thinking about the situation, as opposed to the situation itself. So the process of solving this thing that you simply misperceive is actually going to make matters worse. But no, we're too good to listen to the wisdom of our ancestors. We're too good. We've evolved too far. Fuck, okay. However, she welcomed the planned restoration work as an important advancement. She told the BBC's Good Morning Ulster programme that she hoped behaviours would change, and if not, the statue should potentially be raised on a plinth. Yeah, how high up? 5 foot? 6 foot? 30 foot? How high are we talking about here? She also called for a plaque to be installed to explain the legacy of Molly Malone. 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 Right. Here's the legacy of Molly Malone. It's a fucking song! Jesus Christ, man. I'm sorry for listeners. I'm just getting worked up by this cunt. It's a song. It's a song about a woman going around selling shit that she got out of the fucking harbor. That's the legacy of Molly Malone. Stupid bitch. Stupid, stupid bitch. Why are we listening to these people? Why are these people important? Why are they being... Oh my god. Huh? What in tarnation? Okay, no, I switched to the wrong. Wait, it's the same fucking page. Okay. Oh dear. Who was Molly Malone? Because we need to be told that she isn't fucking real, okay? This is according to the BBC now. The Molly Malone statue was erected 37 years ago in tribute to a legendary Dublin woman who sold shellfish in the streets of the Irish capital. Oh my god, they're saying that she's real. Wow. It is not clear if the character is based on a real or fictional person, but the figure of Molly Malone has come to represent part of Dublin's working class community. Working class? I wouldn't say so. She was also the subject of a traditional folk song, which tells the story of a fishmonger's daughter who sold cockles and mussels from a wheelbarrow. No, she is the traditional folk song. Jesus Christ. These people have problems with deciphering reality from made up shit. And we'll take another look at another example of that in a bit. Many public artworks in Dublin are popularly referred to by rhyming nicknames. And for years, Molly Malone statue was known as the tart with the cart. Yeah, that's a very Dublin fucking thing, you know? This name was in part due to suggestions that Molly Malone worked as fishmonger by day and a sex worker by night. Says fucking who? Are there any dubs out there in the chat that can correct me on that? No. No. Fucking hell. These people, man. They just pull shit out of their asses to support their own fucking agenda. The statue was first erected in Dublin's Grafton Street in 1988, created by renowned. It just sounds very weird in a sentence. Renowned bronze sculptor Jan Reinhardt. Yeah, okay. It was later moved to nearby St. Andrew's Street to accommodate the construction of a tram line. Okay. That was shit. BBC. That was absolute dog shit. You quoted some fucking harpy from probably Twitter, and then you acted as if Molly Malone was a real person. Just go fuck yourself, man. I'm sick of this shit. Right here, I'm going to dip in slightly to the material that we were going to cover with Morgan here for a minute, right? And this is about the adolescence. Now, this is what we were supposed to cover. This is what's in the title, and I'm sorry that we couldn't do that tonight, but hey ho, we'll get around to it eventually. Okay, so this Mr. Bean looking motherfucker, we'll see more of him next week. Ugh. He just gives me the willies. He's like the Wario version of Mr. Bean. Absolutely disgusting person, in my opinion. That's my opinion, and I hope he doesn't come sue me. You know, if he can say whatever he likes about me because of parliamentary privilege, potentially say anything about me, I can say anything about him. I'm retaining that right. I will say everything I can within the law about a politician. Just because of that imbalance in the law. Right. This is acting Taoiseach. After this guy finishes his question, this is acting Taoiseach Simon Harris in the Irish Parliament, Dáil, and then it will be followed up by a question asked of Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the UK in the House of Commons, I believe it is.
Of dominance, aggression and subjugation of women through social media must be ended. I ask, what more can we do? What is the government doing to tackle the rise of toxic masculinity and its detrimental influence?
Well, Deputy Neville is so right, and I want to thank you for the question. This is a really important topic for all of society, Laskin Corla. I think the programme Adolescence has really provided a glimpse into how toxic influences are filling a void in young men's lives. In fact, I believe adolescents should be compulsory viewing in all our secondary schools right across this country. Social media has such an influence on young lives, and that's why I think in Europe and Ireland we need to be true to our values, even if others in the other parts of the world decide to go a different way. These so-called influencers are feeding young men a warped view of what it is to be a man. And let us be clear, the likes of Conor McGregor and Andrew Tate should not be social media influencers. They should be social pariahs. Their behaviour is wrong, it's retrograde, it's degrading, it's damaging. They're normalising behaviour that is totally and utterly unacceptable. And everybody in this House, we should speak with one voice in relation to this. Not social media influencers, social pariahs is what they are.
Deputy Crowe.
Everyone is talking about Adolescence, the series by Knowsley's own Stephan Graham and Christine Tomarco. It highlights online male radicalisation and violence against girls. The creators of the show are calling for screenings in Parliament and schools to spark change. So will the Prime Minister back this campaign to counter toxic misogyny early and give young men the role models they deserve?
Prime Minister. Yes, and at home we are watching adolescents with our children. I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and it's a very, very good documentary to watch, or drama.
Okay, so let's go back to Simon Harris in our minds for a second. The show, it gave a what glimpse? Let's get our verbiage absolutely correct here.
Is so right, and I want to thank you for the question. This is a really important topic for all of society, Laskin Corla. I think the programme Adolescence has really provided a glimpse into how toxic influences are.
Oh, just a glimpse, no adjectives there. Oh, okay, fair enough. But still, adding a glimpse. How? It's a fucking TV show, man. It's made with a certain impact in mind. It's necessarily not real and not representative of the whole reality of the situation. Who was that fella? Aristotle, I think, isn't it? Who said, you know, make sure that society isn't controlled by the artists, because the artists understand how to manipulate people's mind and emotions and, you know, seed certain ideas in their heads. But that's our society today. You know, from Hollywood to the fucking BBC and RTE and what have you. Artists of all forms, of all mediums, are getting into your head and just fucking monkeying around with your perceptions. And you have these politicians getting up and saying, oh, you know, isn't that terrible what we just saw? That fucking TV show, that made up thing that we all watched. Wasn't that so informative about what the real world is? And this Muppet, right? He he exposes it. You know, he tells us straight up what this is all about. This is. It's incredible, right? He is the guy that's using the propaganda, or rather propagandizing a piece of art for his own agenda, yet he's propagandized by it himself.
Our children, I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and it's a very, very good documentary.
Documentary. He had a lot of time to fucking think about that next word, you know? It's not like he was just flowing and he just accidentally calls it a documentary, you know? His brain had a lot of time to find the right word, but it didn't. It found the word that made sense most to him, which is documentary. He thought he was looking at a real thing, or he wants us to think that we were looking at the real thing. And by the way, isn't this interesting, the date here? 19th of March, the day before the clip that we just saw. Simon Harris wants this shown in schools all over the country. Keir Starmer wants this show shown all across the country in schools. Don't you see a pattern here, folks?
To watch, or drama.
And to add to that, by the way, like, he could have called it a comedy, but no, he didn't, because that doesn't make sense. If he was going to mislabel it at all, it would be documentary, because that's what he views it as, a fucking documentary. Reality.
This violence carried out by young men, influenced by what they see online, is a real problem. It's abhorrent, and we have to tackle it. We are putting in specialist rape and sexual offences teams in every police force doing work on the 999 calls, but this is also a matter of culture that I think it's important that across the whole House we tackle this emerging and growing problem.
Yeah, I forget the is it Douglas Murray? I think that's his name. The gay right-wing guy from Britain. I think his thing is writing about Islam and the danger of Islam, which would make sense for him because he's a gay man in the West. And there's a lot of Muslims moving into the West, and they, you know, as many of us know, don't like gay people. They consider what gay people do haram, against the will of God himself. You know, one of the most sternest rules of this God, who is very angry and very jealous, and he doesn't like it when people don't follow his rules. And his prophet has recommended several times throughout their holy book that they deal with people like that. They deal with people who don't follow the rules of their God in very violent ways. So he made a good point. He said, look, there is a knife crime epidemic in the country, but it's black on black teenage crime. It's not a teenage boy crime who, you know, watched too much of the manosphere on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. You know, it's not the little white boys learning about the 2080 rule, which is a bastardization of an actual genetic fact that they found that 80% of women who ever existed procreated, while only 20% of men who ever existed procreated. I don't know how they work that out by looking at genealogies and stuff, but it sounds legit, and it resonates with a lot of people. But the TV show bastardized it. I don't know whether it was already bastardized by the likes of Andrew Tate and all the other women haters. But it came from a legitimate source, and this is another example of why you can't watch a TV show and think that you're getting reality served to you. It's just not a thing. Right. I don't know if I still have a job tonight. Because I contacted my client and said, yeah, I might be around later. After they asked when I'll be free. So let's keep on trucking. I'm sure we can find something else to entertain us. I mean, there's really nothing more to be said about Molly Malone. And we're not getting into the the adolescence track. We'll keep that for Morgan next week on the Anti-Broadcast, 9:30. 9:30 on Kick or YouTube, depending on where you prefer to watch your shows. Let me put up this ticker. Yeah, there you go. That's the website, http://antibroadcast.com. Now put it that way into your browser, because I don't have a security ticket or cert thing, you know, for the HTTPS, because, you know, I frankly don't fucking need one. I'm not handling your private data. I'm not asking you for sensitive information there. But anyway, even though I'm not handling sensitive information, even though I don't need this imaginary thing, Chrome in particular, and I think also Firefox blocks websites that try to access it with HTTPS. Like if you typed facebook.com into a browser, it would try the HTTPS version. And normal browsers, if there isn't a fucking security certificate, they'll just revert to normal HTTP. But no, Chrome, who's in bed with Google, by the way, most of the funding for Chrome and for Firefox, well, Chrome is Google, but also the Firefox funding comes from a deal that they have with putting Google search as the default into the browser and other functionalities like that. So they have to push Google's grift, which is selling these security certificates. But the thing is that they're a scam. They don't actually mean anything, okay? I set up, when I have access to the server itself, which the anti-broadcast isn't on one of those. It's on a shared server. I can't get into the bones of it and set one up myself. It'll cost me like 80 fucking euro for the year. Normally, I'll just go in, type some shit up and get a free certificate. And that's it. I haven't done anything to protect your privacy. There's no encryption going on. It's just this thing that makes you feel safer. But anyway, that's not what I was supposed to be talking about. Go to antibroadcast.com. Along the right-hand side, you will see various. Fuck it. Let me just pull that up myself. You'll see various options to follow the show. See here down the right, yeah, you can subscribe. Oh yeah, sure. You know that's one thing that will not be safe going across the internet is your email address. Like, whoop-de-doo. Oh my God, they're going to hack your whole life. They're going to take over your bank account because they know your fucking email address of some random fucking person. Because that's impossible to get otherwise. But you can subscribe by email, which I highly recommend. You can follow us on Twitter or X. You can follow us on Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram. And you also have the links to both our YouTube channel and Kick channel so that you can watch us. And of course, on the front page, you will always have a playlist that has our most recent live shows. We need your help, folks. Just liking, subscribing, sending chats when we're live, making comments. These are the things that help us grow. Yeah, these are the things that help us grow, and it's just hard. I'll leave it at that. It's hard to get out there and be seen without selling your soul to the devil. It's an enjoyable grind. We're enjoying it so far. We've only really been doing live shows now for 4 or 5 weeks on video. Up until now, it was only on evrn.net, our radio station, where we were just in obscurity, where like barely anybody heard us because people don't listen to internet radio anymore. But now we're getting some coverage. Now we're getting out there, but it could be better. We could have a lot more listeners, a lot more viewers, rather. And that depends on interaction. That depends on you guys sharing out our material. Because we do work hard on it. It's an enjoyable process, but we give it our all. And we do believe in what we do, what we say. We want the world to be a better place. Of course, we want fatter wallets. That would be nice, We're running a deficit because this is our calling. You could say it's our hobby, but it transcends that. It goes beyond that. It's something that we both have to do, or we'll go insane. We will actually genuinely lose our fucking minds if we don't come here every Friday and show you guys what we've seen through the week and dismantle it and have a bit of a laugh. I was really reluctant to come on tonight when I heard that Morgan couldn't join me. I felt like, Jesus, what's my life even about if I can't do this? So I gladly came on to hum and haw and stammer and make a fucking fool of myself because, like I said, I'll go crazy if I don't do it. Morgan feels the same. So we will be here and we will do this for as long as we live, and we will be out of pocket for as long as that's necessary. But it would be nice to get a little bit of a subsidy every now and then. And again, you can help us along that path by getting the word out there that we are here, we exist, and we're on a mission to take down the liars, take down the cynical gobshites that run this world, call out injustice and deception and cynicism even. We are often very cynical ourselves. It oozes out of us during the shows usually. It's hard to hide that, and honestly we really don't want to hide that because that's just being phony. And that's the cynicism, is hiding. Well, that's the real cynicism, is hiding the frustration, sadness, and anger about the world. You can't help but be pissed off, I think, if you pay any amount of attention to what's going on in this country, in the world. Whatever you choose to pay attention to, it's all bad news. I finally decided that Twitter isn't helping me. It's not adding to my life. I thought it was good because it added to the content that I can bring to the show, but it's suffering from hardcore diminishing returns. It's just not doing it anymore. It's full of attention grabbing fear porn and engagement farming, as they call it. Yet I have to pay attention to the shit in the world so that I can torment you guys with it on a weekly basis. But the idea is to, bring levity to it. Remind ourselves that, yeah, this is wrong and this is terrible, but it's not all terrible because we see through it and we can laugh at it and we can propose a better way of doing things, a better way of looking at things, a better way of looking at ourselves and each other. And this stream of consciousness is brought to you by my endless fucking scrolling through my Udio library, because again, I can't categorize, I can't filter. Oh wait, no, this is the filters, isn't it? Oh no, I can filter by published. Oh Jesus Christ. Dummy. I'm a dummy. Yeah, I'm looking for the next song that we're going to play out the show, because one way or another I have to say goodnight. It's just finding the right one for the right vibe. You know, I'm going to go for this 80s vibe. I think you could describe it as college rock, maybe. I'm not quite sure. Maybe the chat room can help me out with the genre here, but definitely the 80s. I got this feeling that it could have been sung by the Waitresses. Fucking great band if you haven't heard them before. But this is one that I came up with. Admittedly, I didn't write the lyrics. I just gave the I just typed into ChatGPT the scenario of the song that I wanted, and then I took the lyrics that it output and then and then explained to Udio what kind of genre and vibe I'm going for, and it was fucking spot on. It was fucking beautiful how it all came together. So that's me for tonight. I hope that I didn't cause you too much misery by my just constant droning on about stuff that ultimately just doesn't fucking matter. Enjoy your weekend. Be kind to each other and yourself.
He saw her from across the room. His heart skipped in delight. Took a breath and walked away. His hopes soaring high. With a smile, he said hello. Hope for a spark to ignite. But her lips moved oddly, and out came a curious cry. River blabber, zip zap zoom, dippy dabby, flip flap flume. He blinked in confusion. What could he even say when words turned to gibberish in such a charming way? He thought perhaps he'd miss her. Lean a little more. Could you repeat that, he asked? Once again, she answered back. A stream of sounds so bizarre. Bleeble blabble, squeak squawk squoo, like a song from afar. River blabber, zip zap zoom, dippy dabby, flip flap flume. He blinked in confusion. What could he even say when words turned to gibberish in such a charming way? Determined not to falter, he laughed and tried once more, speaking slow and gesturing as never he had before. All she ever answered with was bleep, blap, glooby, glay, a in confusion. What could he even say when words turn to gibberish in such a charming way? He mirrored her mysterious words in the language she'd unfurled. Blibber blabber back he sang a curious world. They swirled, was it folly, was it fate? Only the stars might truly know. In the dance of gibberish where silent understanding